I've got big news, guys. The Blue Jackets have won a hockey game, and they didn't even need overtime to do it. They won in regulation. Super exciting. We're going to be talking about the win over the Chicago Blackhawks and also previewing the game against the Ottawa Senators. And that's what's coming up today on Locked on Blue Jackets.
Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to bring you news, stories, trials, tribulations, highs, lows, all of the above and more about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and also over on YouTube. So if you haven't hit subscribe over there, then make that your New Year's resolution to subscribe to the podcast. We are on our way to the next milestone, and I'm super excited to get there. Today's show, we have to talk about the game against Chicago, which I know was a couple of days ago, but there are some things that I want to point out in it that I think could be signs of something good happening down the road. And the Blue Jackets are facing the Ottawa Senators tomorrow night, so we got to talk about that as well. So let's start off with the game, which didn't start great. The Blue Jackets decided to allow the opening goal again. Andreas Athanasiou again scored to make it 1-0, and then honestly, their first period was fine. I didn't think it was anything like groundbreaking. They only took one penalty, which was fine. Sometimes the Blue Jackets like to take a million penalties. They did not do it this time, which I am pleased about. And honestly, they finished the period out shooting the Blackhawks 15-9. They also managed to tie the game up. Emil Bemstrom with just what a pass from Johnny Gaudreau. That's his 26th assist of the season on the power play. It was like, I'll have to look at this. It was 11 seconds into the power play, and they were like, "Yep, we're done. We don't need any more." And so the interesting thing about this is that Brad Larson talked a little bit, not directly before the game, I don't think, but a little bit earlier, about putting Emil Bemstrom kind of on the power play in a spot where he's been scoring from the power play in Cleveland. And so they basically put him in like the line A spot. And hey, second power play of the game for the Blue Jackets, and 11 seconds in, he puts it in the net, makes it 1-1, ties the game. And I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic, but not a ton more optimistic. The Blackhawks are not good, but Alex Stalock, I thought, had a really good game, which is not something I normally say about Alex Stalock, but he had a really good game. He had a really good game against the Blue Jackets like about a week ago. So he was definitely someone that I was expecting to play well. And he did, which was frustrating. Second period, things start to turn around a little bit. It's still looking a little kind of touch and go. Gus Nyquist scores a shorthanded goal to make it 2-1 about 4 minutes into the period because, again, the Blue Jackets decide the second period is time for crime. They take 3 penalties. First one in literally at the first minute, and then basically literally as that one is done, they take another penalty, which, I mean, I feel like you could not do that. Just, as a suggestion, you could not do that. All 3 second period penalties were against Andreas Athanasiou, which I did find extremely funny. Something also that I didn't mention, Seth Jones took 2 minor penalties in the first period. The second one was the one that the Blue Jackets scored on, so that's got to feel good. And then again, Gus Nyquist, short-handed goal, which I believe ties him for like 3rd or 4th in the league in short-handed goals. He has 8 goals on the season after this game, and I'm pretty sure at least 3 of them are short-handed goals, which is very funny. Kirill Marchenko scores another assist for Johnny Gaudreau. And then Gus Nyquist finishes it off with a shorthanded goal again in the third period. Like I said, that's his 8th goal of the season. Blue Jackets win 4-1. Honestly, a team as bad as the Blue Jackets, like, sorry, excuse me, that was Freudian. A team as bad as the Blackhawks, they should not have had as much trouble beating them as they did. Like, they lost 5-2 in the first game, and look, like, it was bad. It was embarrassing. They let Max Domi score. Like, it was a bad time for everyone. They looked a lot better in this game, but also they should look better in this game. The Blackhawks are not a good team, and like that objectively, but when the Blue Jackets are like out shooting you by 10, it's not great. We'll say that, but Blackhawks went 0 for 5 on the power play. The Blue Jackets went 1 for 3 on the power play, and also they scored more shot-handed goals than they did power play goals, which again, very funny. I do think that last shot-handed goal was an empty netter, but it still counts, and I'm taking it. Just I don't know, a really weird but really fun game. For a variety of reasons, up to and including that top line of Johnny Gaudreau, Kirill Marchenko, and Kent Johnson, which we are going to talk about in just a minute. But first, I've got to tell you about a product that I use literally every day. We are sponsored by Athletic Greens. And I started taking AG1 because I didn't have time to, go out and research what was going to be the best supplement for me. I wanted better gut health, more energy. I wanted my immune system to be better. I don't like taking pills. And so I was like, right, AG1 seems like the thing for me, and it super is. So what is it? Well, AG1 is 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. It supports gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, all of the things that I want in my kind of one daily supplement. I don't have to take a million pills. I don't have to drink a million gross protein shakes. I can just do 1 cup of water with a scoop of AG1 in, and that is everything I need to get through my day and feel much better. Right now, it is time for you to reclaim your health like I have. Arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. There's no need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. And all you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Once again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So let's talk about that top line, because they had, frankly, some silly, silly numbers. I was kind of keeping an eye on natural stat tricks throughout the game just to see if, the eye test was backing up, or the numbers were backing up the eye test. And for the most part, they were. Um, Interestingly, and we'll talk about the defense in a minute, the defense was kind of upside down in terms of who was doing well and who wasn't. And I have a couple of theories for this, but in terms of the Blue Jackets, just on ice, it kind of balanced out a little bit, but uh, Ken Johnson was at 61%. Kirill Marchenko was at 58% in terms of Corsi for percentage. Johnny Gaudreau was on the ice for 19 shot attempts, just bonkers. But the thing that I really wanted to pay attention to was the defense. It was shockingly competent, honestly. Gavin Bayreuther had a great game. Adam Boquist had a great game. They didn't have a ton of ice time, but what they did with it was really great. I want to shout out the pairing of Tim Berni and Eric Gabranson, which I've had some comments before about how I am just using Eric Branson as a scapegoat for everything that's wrong with this team and with with every game that they play. I still don't think Eric Branson is very good, and I still think he is overpaid. However, last game he was, I thought, fantastic. He was on the ice for 19 shot attempts for and only 7 against Tim Berni. His defense partner was on the ice for 21 shot attempts for and 7 against. Just those are some real good numbers. And again, it's against Chicago. Like, it's not necessarily indicative of many things, but sometimes teams find a way to disappoint you. This also might be the first game all season that every single Blue Jacket had a positive Corsi for percentage. The lowest player was Marcus Bjork, who had 52.9%. So basically 53%. And something else that I want to point out while we're talking about stats and ice time and whatnot. Cole Sillinger took that penalty in the first period. It was real dumb. It was a stupid penalty. Shouldn't have taken it. Didn't need to take it. I was fully expecting him to be benched for the rest of the game, and he wasn't, which was awesome. He actually played 12 minutes 37 seconds. The ice time was so weird in this game. Looking at the 5v5 and then going to all situations, Eric Robinson was second on the team in ice time for forwards. Sean Kiraly was first. Sean Kiraly played 17 minutes in this game. And that's at all situations. So Kiraly and Robinson both killed a ton of penalties. But if you go to 5-on-5 and then look at it, it's still Eric Robinson. The only players that had more ice time at 5v5 were Carson Meyer, which is very funny, Ken Johnson and Kirill Marchenko. Eric Robinson had more ice time than Johnny Gaudreau, only by 2 seconds, but still. I don't know what was happening with this game, and in fairness to Brad Larson, well, not in fairness to Brad Larson, I don't think anything is in fairness to Brad Larson. The team played well, the team won. It feels silly to sit here and quibble over some players needing more ice time and some players needing less ice time. It does kind of point me towards a theory that I was working with for a while, which is that this team is kind of succeeding despite what the coaching is doing. And that's maybe disingenuous, and that's maybe unfair to Brad Larson. But if your leading forward in ice time at 5v5 is Carson Meyer, it feels like you could be giving some more ice time to, I don't know, Johnny Gaudreau, for example, who had only about 30 seconds less ice time than Carson Meyer. The ice time was pretty even, honestly. Between Liam Foodie, who had the least ice time at 9:13, and Carson Meyer at 13:07. That's less than 4 minutes difference. So maybe he's finally learned to balance lines. Maybe it was that they were playing a team that it doesn't seem to matter which line went out. They were succeeding against. Maybe he was just like, hey, this game is basically meaningless. Let's just throw whoever out there. But it was a weird game with weird ice time. I'm glad that they won, but I don't think it was necessarily a foregone conclusion. And that's kind of where we'll leave it, I think. It was a good game. I need to do Cannonball of the game. I haven't done that in a minute because the Blue Jackets haven't won a game in a minute. And I know I'm supposed to be doing them for losses, but honestly, I'm giving Cannonball of the game to, and this is no disrespect to Gus Nyquist, who had two short-handed goals in one game. That Emil Bemstrom goal was real nice. That's his 4th goal of the season. That's, I believe, his first since his call-up a couple of games ago. He's been playing in that top 6. He's been playing on the power play. He looked really good. I was worried that they were going to basically play him 8 minutes a night, ruin his confidence, and then send him back down to the AHL after a couple of games. But it looks like he's earned the staying power. Will he stay in the top 6? Maybe. But with Yegor Chinakhov out for about 6 weeks with the knee injury, with Boone Jenner out for about another probably 3 to 4 weeks with the thumb, there's space in the top 6 for a guy like Bemstrom to show this team that he can succeed in a top 6, in an NHL top 6. And so that's super exciting. And I look forward to seeing Bemstrom make other teams look silly on the power play. So that's my cannonball for the game, is that power play goal by Emil Bemstrom. Shout out to him. Hopefully we see many, many more of those, because I think he's good enough. Frankly, I think he's good enough to be in the top 6 for the team. If not, he's certainly good enough to be in the top 9. Hopefully, I don't know that Brad Larson and I agree on a lot of things, but hopefully we agree on this. Now, in a minute, we are going to turn to the game tomorrow. We are going to look at the game against the Ottawa Senators, which I'm sure will be fun and everyone will have a great time, and it will not be stressful for me specifically or for the team or just in general. That's all coming up next on Locked On Blue Jackets. So let's talk about the Ottawa Senators, who kind of in the same boat as the Blue Jackets. Honestly, they had a really great offseason. They picked up Claude Giroux. They picked up Alex DeBrincat for basically nothing. They improved in goaltending. They got a lot better in various ways, similar to the Blue Jackets, I thought. And then they kind of stumbled out of the start and have not really been able to pick it up. They are currently, they are second to last in the division. They are only like a point behind Florida, which is very funny. They are 11 points ahead of the Blue Jackets, but that's not surprising. They are in a similar boat as the Blue Jackets, but less. Um, and they still might pick it up. They have a bunch of really good players. They've got a good rookie in Shane Pinto, who's kind of doing very similar things to Kent Johnson this season. They're very similar teams. It'll be interesting to see how this game goes. The Blue Jackets obviously just came off that 7-game losing streak. They've got a I don't know if it's a 1-game win streak. I don't know if that can be a streak if it's just one. The Ottawa Senators just lost a game. They're playing tonight, I believe. So they may or may not come into this with a win or a loss. We don't know. I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon for people who are curious. I'm recording this before the Senators game on Monday. They are 6-3-1 in their last 10, so they've kind of really pulled it around. Their power play is shockingly competent at 6th in the league. So the Blue Jackets would be it would be good of them to not take too many penalties. I know the Blue Jackets love to do crime, but it would be really good, I think, if they would not do that. Penalty kill is 11th in the league versus the Blue Jackets 16th. Oh, the Blue Jackets have climbed up to 30th in their power play, by the way. They're no longer 32nd, which is fun. They're 4th in the league in face-off percentage, and then this is kind of where it starts to make a little bit more sense. They are 23rd in the league in goals for per game. They score exactly 3 goals a game on average, and then they allow 3.19 goals a game on average. So those are both better than the Blue Jackets, and the Blue Jackets are sitting at 2.69 goals for per game and 3.91 against. So essentially, the Blue Jackets are losing every game 4-3, whereas the Senators are losing every game 3.5-3, give or take, or they're losing a lot of half points. This all goes back to kind of my point of this is 2 very similar teams that are struggling for reasons that no one can really figure out. The goaltending has been good for Ottawa. They picked up Cam Talbot. He's only 10-9-1, but he's got a 2.74 GAA and a 911 save percentage. He's got 1 shutout on the year. Jonas Corpusalo, I assume, will be starting. He's 5-6-1 on the season, has a 9-12 after a very good performance against the Blackhawks, where he allowed 1 goal on 28 shots. So that'd be the matchup I expect to see. I don't see them. They could play Elvis. This doesn't, to me, feel like a gimme game necessarily. I think this probably will be a pretty close game. They're gonna have to put Elvis back in at some point. Like, they can't leave him on the bench forever. They're gonna have to do something with Elvis. He's gonna have to play a game eventually. And it's gonna get to a point where they either have to choose, do you want to just throw him in randomly, or do you want to give him a game and ease him back in, you know? But if you look at the Blue Jackets schedule coming up, it's not super friendly for a goalie struggling with his confidence. It's mostly either underperforming teams that are still better. So the Blue Jackets' next few games is Ottawa on Tuesday and then Washington on Thursday, who are underperforming, but Ovechkin's always dangerous. Carolina leading the division on Saturday, and then Washington again on Sunday, and then back to Tampa Bay, and then Carolina. So really, maybe Ottawa is the best choice for Elvis. If not, like, the only other option is Detroit in 2 weeks' time, on the 14th. Like, those feel like the best games to put him in. So maybe you just throw him in against Ottawa and hope for the best. I don't know that it's going to turn his season around entirely, but I worry that the longer he stays on the bench, the more his confidence is going to get knocked, and that's going to have a knock-on effect to, season after season, and eventually, the Blue Jackets, for better or worse, Elvis is a Blue Jacket for the foreseeable future. Probably for the next, hopefully he figures it out and he's a Blue Jacket for a long time. Eventually, if he keeps playing like he is, I wonder that they're just gonna cut their losses, either buy him out, trade him and retain salary, or, send a pick to sweeten the deal or something, and he gets a chance somewhere else. But right now, the goaltending duo is Korpisalo and Merzlikins. Frankly, I'd play Merzlikins in this game, but I can see why they maybe wouldn't want to do that. I can see arguments for both, but my money is probably on a Talbot versus Korpisalo matchup. In terms of predictions, this has all of the the ingredients to be just a complete disaster game. This feels like it's going to be like a 5-4 overtime win. I'm going to go with the Blue Jackets because New Year's resolution, we're rooting for the Blue Jackets. We're believing in the Blue Jackets. 5-4 win for the Blue Jackets in either an overtime or a shootout. I think it's going to be a messy game. I think no one's going to have a good time, but I think the Blue Jackets will get the win. And the opening goal is going to be let's have some fun with it. I think the opening goal is going to be Kent Johnson. I think that would be fun. He hasn't scored in a minute, and yeah, I think that would be neat. So that's my guess, and that's all I've got for you today. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about the draft coming up. I've got Hadi Kalakesh of Locked On NHL Prospects. We talked at the weekend about this NHL upcoming draft. Why is it so insane? We looked at some of the top prospects that could potentially be Blue Jackets in the future, and then on Wednesday, what we will do is we will break down tomorrow night's game against the Senators, and hopefully we'll be breaking down a win. But that is the plan for tomorrow. That is the plan for Wednesday. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day every day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms. Over on YouTube, we are free and available there as well. Please hit like, hit subscribe, hit comment. Let me know what you thought. I am on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOB FORSTER. You can find the podcast at LO_Blue Jackets. Comments, questions, criticisms, go to locksonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.